So, on your website, you use the words right and reasonable.
Yes, I do.
What does that mean? What's that term mean to you?
Well, in family law, we have a family code that pretty much spells out that whatever the parties have accumulated during the marriage is divided 50-50. That's what they're entitled to, is a 50-50 share of everything that's acquired during the marriage. It also affects things like child support. Child support in this state is done by a guideline formula, so it's what they're entitled to. Spousal support is discretionary, so there's an entitlement to it, but it's up to the judge as to what amount. The problem is people walk into court and they want everything they're entitled to, regardless of how that fits in with their expenses, their budget, what's been going on in their life, because the court doesn't take into account your expenses. They say, for example, you're entitled to this, so this is the order I'm going to make, and then figure out how you're going to, if you can't pay your car payment, too bad, which doesn't work in situations, and it creates then more tension and stress and anxiety and anger, and it tends to lengthen the process of a divorce versus shortening it. So if people will sit down, which is the way I try to practice, and say, okay, what do you need to live on? What are you entitled to? But what are you willing to take to be reasonable, so that both sides that used to live in one house and now with the same pot of money and now have to live in two homes with the same pot of money, that's unrealistic. It doesn't make mathematical sense. So I try to approach it versus, okay, what's reasonable to get you through this with dignity, versus just focusing on every letter of the law entitlement.
How much do you have to bring people's anger quotient down for them to hear that message?
I'm pretty loud about the messages that I convey.
Bonnie, there's nothing truer than that statement right there.
And so I try to go about my practice as a cost-benefit analysis. Yeah, you want to spend $50,000 handing it to me? Okay, but last I checked, you had 2 kids who are eventually going to need to go to college. Maybe spend less money fighting your ex, and let's talk about how we can use that money to better reach your own goals for your family, going forward.